気が空に張り付いてら銀紙の星が揺れてら誰もがポケットの中に
G'day everybody, and welcome back to Anime Roulette. And this week, oh boy.
We've got ourselves a double header.
We got another double header. It's fucking wild, right? Anyway, yes, welcome to the podcast. And it is, of course, Pacman and, of course, my colleague here.
It's V. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm lining you up for the Grand Slam dunk. You can see how Ivi's feeling after we both stayed up way too late, and in my case, drank an awful lot because I am now officially 28, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I would have been for like a month by the time this comes out, but I am 28 now, and I have achieved nothing. Well, besides all of you lovely people listening to me, or at least. Well, not to this podcast, like, you're all here for the history, but the few of you that are here for the podcast, we appreciate you. The 1,000 of you that are, like, tuning in every fortnight is, it means a lot. We appreciate you. But yeah, we rolled 2 anime to sort of bring everything back together, because we had to do, like, a viewer's choice episode, and we had to do other things, because we had to do a double, because one was only, like, a 5-minute clip show. Which was, as we said in our review, hilarious. But, so, we rolled Bladerunner Black Lotus, which is the first show we're going to talk about.
Which it should be mentioned that we rolled we had a really good roll, and we rolled our second show, which is Millionaire Detective Balance Unlimited. Balance Unlimited? Yeah, Millionaire Detective Balance Unlimited.
Yeah.
And that was our first roll, and we were super excited for this because, you know, it looked like a pretty cool show. And then we immediately fucking ruined this by doing the viewer choice episode where we proceeded to roll Black Lotus, which isn't terrible per se, but it's also not as good as Millionaire Detective was.
No, it was, like, we made the mistake of watching Millionaire Detective first.
Honestly, we probably would have been more positive if we hadn't had to watch Millionaire Detective in the same time period.
Yeah, I think that probably would have been it, but when you have that field of comparison, it just sort of changes the dynamic. But let's start off with Bladerunner. Now, I don't know about you guys watching this, but as a mad grunge sci-fi fan, like, going into the world of Bladerunner in this format, like, you better bring your A game. Like, you gotta bring your A game. You gotta really step it up, because Bladerunner is iconic for me.
Bladerunner is not only iconic because the first Blade Runner, killer cult classic film, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then, in addition to that, you've got to deal with the fact that the new Blade Runner is also a cult classic with a unique sort of audience who are very protective of that particular installment in the franchise, right?
100%, yeah. And, like, then you have on top of that, it's based on one of the most famous dystopian novels, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. So, like, this is a big deal. If you're going into this world, you gotta bring your A game. And, like, I mean, let's be real here. It was a Crunchyroll production, which, I mean, given the circumstances, we've all seen how those go. Then again, they've had their moments. But at the same time, you've also got to consider the angle they were coming at it from. Because it was like a joint Japanese-American production, and it was going to tie into both the original Blade Runner and the Blade Runner movie that came out. So, you know, it's one of those things where you had to do it really, really carefully and really, really well. Alright, should we start off with what we liked? Like,
yeah, let's take this, because, like, I don't think doing this as an episode by episode, and I think that we're sort of evolved past that standard episode by episode format.
Yeah, to be honest, like, I don't think we really need to go into it. I think, to be honest, I think realistically speaking, there's not much. There's not much we can really say about this series beyond its qualities. Really.
Okay, so let's do it like that. So I'd say the world they've very much captured the sort of aesthetic of the neo-noir feel of like the dystopian pressures of the Blade Runner world.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the thing that stood out to us on the first episode when we watched it, was the fact that the aesthetic of the world they were in was just perfect. Look, I go into anything 3D animated and my fucking expectations are so low. They are so fucking low. I expect to be seeing pixels. I expect to be seeing like just the worst shit you've ever imagined. I'm imagining like I went into this imagining that I was going to see a blend of Tesla Note and fucking X-Arm, and at times it definitely felt occasionally like that, but it definitely is one of the better 3D shows that I've watched recently. However, that doesn't make it great. Saying you're the best 3D show is like how Jeremy Clarkson put it. What was it back on Top Gear way back in the day? It's like, oh yes, you have syphilis, the best of the sexually transmitted diseases. You know.
Also, it's
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, and also the best 3D animated anime right now is Hoseki no Kuni. No competition, I don't think, on that front.
No, absolutely none. No.
But like, yeah, and I think that they like made use of the 3D format well at times. And we discussed this off air, but the most important thing here is that the fight sequences are really fluidly choreographed. It's not janky.
The fight scenes are the best part of this show, and like
they're easily the best part of this show. However, you're not going to remember any of them because they blur into one, because it's all very fast, blurred shots, which looks cool at the time when you're watching them. You're like, yeah, that was awesome, and then you try to think on any details in them, and you're like,
it's not like in anime where you can sort of like pick standout moments from the fight, like standout moves. Like, for all of its faults, and I tote it as probably still to this day one of the best shonen ever, so far anyway. I'm waiting for it to drop the ball, but we'll see. My Hero Academia, for me personally, everyone's like, "Oh,
you're so loud. You're so loud."
Like the explanations, like, "Oh, look at the characters and the depth and all that and the variation." I'm like, no. The thing that makes My Hero Academia good is its fights, and a lot of people have complained about the fights in My Hero, and I think it's the opposite. They're the best part of the show. But
there's definitely some like if you think back on My Hero Academia, you think of like Deku versus Todoroki at the school festival, Deku versus Bakugo after when Bakugo finally finds out Deku's secret, All Might versus like that, those sorts of things. In this show, there is a ton of fights, but there's like 2 standout moments. Maybe 3.
Yeah, there's only like...
Also, some fights are so stupid. For example, there's a fight between Joseph, the Blade Runner, and the other Blade Runner, whose name I can't remember.
Marlo. That's
Marlo. Yeah, there's a fight between Marlo and Joseph, and they're standing on a stairwell next to a elevator, and the two of them are leaning around corners and just going bang, 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 and then they lean back around the corner, and the other one leans out and goes bang, bang,
I'm
bang.
sorry, that's not how firefights work. I've never been in one, but I know a lot of people who have been, and like, no, it didn't. It doesn't look. It doesn't.
It's so stupid because they are having a fairly important conversation over this, but like it's completely undermined by the fact that it's really funny to just see them lean out the wall and shoot at the wall next to each other, and it's like, what are you doing?
What I find really funny about that whole sequence is, to get away, Joseph jumps in the elevator. But it's like one of those grating elevators, so there's no cover at all. Like, there's no cover or concealment. Like, he's in this elevator, like Marlo's like trying to force the door open. There's like a million gaps. You have a shotgun, just shoot him. There's so many instances in this whole show where you're just like, just shoot him. Like, it's so much easy. I understand you want to go for the cool sword fight sequence. That's entirely what this anime is about. I get it. But just, you have a gun. Just shoot him. He's right there.
Yeah, there's quite a few sequences involving guns where you're just like, you could just shoot him.
Yeah, like
you could just shoot him or stab him. You know, also stabbing. like there's a lot of opportunities L has to just like kill a guy and move on.
What's that bit like? When like there's a bit in the show where
when
she
she
corners the
kidnaps-
police chief and kidnaps his wife.
the wife. Yeah, so L kidnaps the police chief's wife, and in the attempt to lure him in.
We should mention that
works.
L is the android character or the replicant character,
which I quite
the
enjoyed.
protac.
I thought it was a cool concept. I felt that they completely squandered this opportunity.
Yeah, look, telling Blade Runner from the perception of a prototype replicant is like really, really interesting, and they just fucking dropped it. They like just went, oh, she's this female character who's like.
It's like, because like they're like, the whole concept is obviously how did we get from the, you know, replicants in the original Blade Runner to the replicants of the now, and it's just kind of weird.
Yeah. Like there's this grand machination about the bad guy from 2049, Wallace Jr. Using our main character as a murder bot, basically, to kill all his rivals and opponents, so he can ascend to the position he holds in Blade Runner 2049. Right? That's the thing, and like that's the whole.
So you know that it completely undermines a lot of the dramatic tension because you're like, well, he can't fucking die.
He can't die because he's in 2049, so we know that like he's gonna live, but everyone else is not in. And likewise, everyone else that's mentioned in the plot doesn't appear in 2049, including Elle herself. So like,
which is justified by the ending of the show.
Yeah. So like, you know,
yeah.
This whole thing is like, you know, this by the end of it, there's no once they introduce the other characters, you know, it's like dramatic tension is meaningless. What I find really annoying is, as happy as I was that she was alive, at the same time, I'm annoyed at the cop character, that chick Davis. That she gets shanked. She gets full on fucking stabbed with a sword and just comes back in a wheelchair like everything's fine. And I'm like, no. She put that blade right through your liver. How are you alive? Like, man, the future's got some technology, guys. Like, straight up. But yeah. I like this. So like, okay, we're all over the place.
I have to give them props for the... Okay, so let's just talk about the best character in the show.
Oh, yes.
Best character in the show with no competition, nothing, no one comes even close, is Joseph. He is the best, he is the coolest, he is the best looking character.
Yeah, and young Joseph is fucking hot. I'm straight.
Young Joseph looking like an extra from Devil May Cry.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, when he's on screen doing his Joseph things and he's falling in love with that jazz singer replicant and all that noir goodness.
Which was good writing.
Yeah, hang on. Can we, like, again, tick it off on your bingo card.
Yes, tick off the Ivi fucking bingo card once again is, hey, that plot is better than the plot of this story. We should have made that the show.
Why isn't Joseph the main character, and why aren't we finding out about his conquests as a Blade Runner and him falling in love with this chick and them going on the run and it ending tragically and all that? Why haven't we got this plot? Why aren't we watching his story? Why aren't we watching her story? As a character, her like one episode appearance was more interesting than Elle throughout this entire anime. The whole thing, like, I was more invested in her the moment she came on screen than I was in Elle, like, period. And that's an indictment of this show's writing, because I'm just like, there's moments of brilliance here. And you're right, he looks like something out of Devil May Cry. When
he's young, yes.
Like,
when he's older, he looks more like a Final Fantasy character.
No, I'll raise you one better. The moment he came on screen and we saw him, like, with the beard and the long hair and the sort of... I was like, man, they got Hideo Kojima on the fucking writing, straight out of fucking Metal Gear Solid. Like, yep. I'm a grizzled merc from Japan who have moved to LA to hide my dark past as a Blade Runner. You know, it's like, you know, I'm half expecting annoying side character, that Doc guy. I'm half expecting him to kick in the door and be like, "Hey, big boss, you know, here's your metal arm. You gotta go stop the Metal Gear."
L, no, L.
Yeah, TLDR. He's a star of like Metal Gear Solid or fucking.
Okay,
Persona
we
or
need
Devil
to
May Cry.
bridge one super important point. Bladerunner is an English language production.
Yes.
Bladerunner is an English language production. Why the fuck does the dub sound like something we'd whip up in the fucking basement?
Yeah, what is that? Also,
That horrible voice acting.
It's dreadful. Like, absolutely god-awful. And I'm sorry for the voice actors. It's probably not your fault, I'll be honest with you. But the sound mixing for your voices, the direction... Like, Elle's performance was just so flat.
Oh my god, and then you compare it to her, like, Japanese production, and her voice actor, while also still a bit, like, stilted, which I guess is meant to be, was probably the direction on the character, is still so much more emotive.
You know what I think it is? I reckon it's the same thing. And it's the same problem that the show has with lip syncing as well, right?
Oh, the teeth.
The teeth. They've back translated from Japanese. It was probably written in Japanese. And then animated to be kind of like neutral so they could do it in both Japanese and English, which is why their lip syncing looks so weird.
Yeah.
And so, like, it was, like, done in the lip syncing was done in the most sort of wide-angled, neutral way possible so that anyone could dub it, right? And it's not like anime where you could just match the lip flaps or edit the lip flaps to what you need, because...
It requires a whole other rendering.
In 3D, you're fully replicating the movements of someone's mouth. So, like, the lip syncing... And like Ivy said, the teeth animation, it's just so jank. Like the
teeth, like, it wouldn't be probably so bad if they didn't have teeth, but the problem is it's 3D animation. They need teeth or they look like weird, like, teethless freaks.
So yeah, but credit where credit's due. The fight sequences in Black Lotus were excellent. Yeah. Yeah,
that first fight scene in the entire show in episode 1.
Dude.
Woo! When that shit went down, I was like, oh my god. Actually, while we're quickly, just before we start gushing about the, like, cool little bits of fight scenes, can we talk about the horrible running animation?
Yeah, the running.
Not one run in the entire 13 episodes looks right. Nobody runs like a normal person in this show. I don't know what the fuck happened. There is a variety of walking animations, which is great, because a big problem 3D animation makes usually is that everyone walks the same. People don't walk the same. Like, there's people with limps, people with slightly different gaits, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people walk differently here, especially Elle has her very particular gait. And that's cool. However, everyone runs like a fucking weirdo. It would have been less weird if they ran like Naruto run, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they were doing like this weird, like, you know what it sounds like? Wow, this is going to be like an ancient comparison. You guys are going to be able to fucking carbon date us with this one. You remember the sort of like running and walking animations in Grand Theft Auto 4? Like way back in the day? That's what it feels like. It feels like, oh, we need the running and the walking to be realistic, so we're going to add lots of momentum into the movements, right? So, like, it looks like Elle, when she's walking and running, it looks like she weighs a ton because her, like, arms and her legs are, like, swaying everywhere. And it's like, oh, there's momentum in her movement. Look how realistic this is. When in reality, no. When you're running, like, your muscles tense up and, like, to make your movements more efficient and so forth, right? So, in a weird way, a more janky looking run would actually be more accurate than whatever the sort of flowing, swaying thing that we see on screen is, right? Because they've taken the fight animation choreography and then moved it over to the general movement choreography, and it just doesn't work. As I said, it's like GTA 4. It's like she's swaying as she's running, and I'm like, even my fat ass doesn't sway when I run. Like, it just looks weird. But
yeah, it looks weird. But fight scenes,
And
Definitely the standout moment is, some of these fight scenes are kick-ass.
They fucking rock, and the sword fights especially with the big bad at the end, like Water Lily. Like the sword fight there, like sword on sword was just, yes. Like,
man,
I love a good sword fight. Always
love a good sword fight. Can't help but feel a bit bad for Water Lily. Like, she's literally been programmed to kill people. Like, she does her job, she kills people, and then she loses one fight, and the boss is like, nah, fuck you.
And just kills her. But, he's going for the Machiavellian villain, and it matches with his character from 2049. So, like, it's not a surprise that happens.
It's not surprising. It's just, poor Water Lily. She didn't deserve that.
Yeah, she got...
she didn't... I'm like, she didn't deserve that. And I thought about it, and I was like, maybe she did deserve it. She did do a lot of bad things in the show.
She murdered discount Jonah Hill scientist. That was pretty fucked.
He didn't deserve to die like that.
Nah, he was a homie. He was a good dude.
He was a nice, quiet, chubby guy.
Yeah, he was just doing his thing. Right?
Half expecting him to rock up on one of those, like, this fat guy married this really attractive woman. Isn't this surprising? And it's like, what?
That's because he's a replicant and he's programmed to love him. Like, like ultimate 3D dolls. Welcome to the future. And in all seriousness, basically what's happened. And so now we have amazing fight scenes. And one thing, as I said, the aesthetic, the lighting in this show. It has a few hiccups here and there. But
so we had the theory that this show looks really quite good whenever there's poorly lit shots.
Yeah. Like, when it wants to do the original Bladerunner aesthetic, it just fucking smashes.
There's a really great shot in, what was it, like the third episode or something, where they're riding an elevator in the rain.
Oh yes,
that was really cool.
And the wide panning shots of the city with like this sort of Wallace Tower monolith above it.
I would pay to just have like chill hop beats to be miserable to. Chill hop beats to be miserable to while walking around a 3D model of the city that they did, because it looked so fucking cool. And it was always raining, so it's basically my dream place.
Always
because
great.
After all, I am an 100% rain simp.
You're a rain simp. I'm a blue skies guy, but only a 20-degree blue skies guy, not the 40-degree blue skies that we get down here usually. But like, in all seriousness, like, it's one of those moments where, even though it was the longest show of the two we've watched, like, really, it's only going to be, like, we're only 20 minutes in, and, like, this is really all we have much to say about it. Because the thing is, it has all the faults you'd expect out of a 3D anime, but it's not anywhere near as bad as the other stuff you'd see.
Yeah, especially, like, we've had a lot of duds in the last, like, couple of years, 3D animation-wise. And it has helped to reinforce a lot of the biases that a lot of us hold, myself included. I don't hide that I'm very negative towards
that being
3D
said,
animated
that being
shows.
Said, it's
that
better.
Being said, this looked quite good. A lot of the time, this looked quite good. There's definitely moments of weirdness.
As I said, it felt like the whole series feels like you're watching a like cutscene from Metal Gear Solid or from Resident Evil on PS4, just as an entire show, is basically what you're at. A bit more inspired in some places because it's a television production, but on the whole, it's a CG cutscene from a story-based Japanese game on PS4, is what it is. Set in the Blade Runner universe, and the plot is a video game plot, almost. Like, if this was tied into a video game, if these were cutscenes in a video game, and you were playing as L doing all those cool fights, I would be a lot kinder to this series than I'm going to be, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But one thing we will give credit for, which we haven't talked about yet, which is the final thing I want to talk about regarding the show, is the soundtrack banged.
Yeah, like some of the insert songs were a bit hit or miss, but the ending songs, because every episode, because this is a Western production, they can afford this. Every episode ends with like a different song, and they're like thematically appropriate to what just happened in that episode. and some of them fucking slap.
Like episode 5 or whatever, I think it was, where it was like, you know, her singing about not having mercy for actions in the past or whatever, and like really dark and dirgy, kind of like an Adele song, sort of. Like, and I was like, you know, yeah, all right, I dig the music, and the opening as well was, like, it was very distinctly Western.
It's very distinctly Western and Marxist as such. It kind of sounds like it's a good song, don't get me wrong, but like every time I heard it, I couldn't help but think of Arcane.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It sort of felt like, you know what it kind of feels like? It feels like the opening to like Vikings, or like, you know, Vikings and other shows like with that dark and gritty tone where it's sort of like very mournful and very soft. I think all I'm going to say is, like, watching this, having it actually be set in the Blade Runner universe kind of invalidates all the criticism that I really have for it. But, like, honestly, because everything in this sort of genre, like the dark, dingy, grunge sci-fi.
Let's just be honest. We just want more neo-noir, right?
Yeah.
That's it at the end of the day. At the end of the day, we can guise it in like high-minded criticism, but at the end of the day, all this reminded me was that I really fucking love neo-noir aesthetics, and I just want more neo-noir sci-fi, especially. Oh my god.
Sci-fi. Like, and that
we were like commenting on like really little things, and I think it's one of the things that they did really well is the little things that make it feel like the setting it is.
Yeah.
The fact the umbrellas with the like LEDs in them. Yeah. Right? Like, also, I want an umbrella with an LED.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Now. Like I really liked the whole setting, and it lends itself to like my favorite modern sci-fi and modern settings of recent times, because you've got like Blade Runner laid down the groundwork for all of that. I mean, the retro futurist grungy sci-fi aesthetic of Aliens and Blade Runner, both Ridley Scott films, is just like absolutely, it's what it's about. And they captured it well with the aesthetic. I mean, they got the aesthetic of Blade Runner. Everything else, as I said, it's a PS4 Metal Gear Solid action adventure kind of game. But
yeah, it's got elements of Blade Runner, and the setting feels like Blade Runner. But then, like, apart from that, it doesn't really feel like a Blade Runner story. Probably because of the focus on L.
And yeah, the fact that Joseph and Elle are very distinctly Japanese.
Oh, that's something we need to. Yeah, they are Japanese-esque characters, which is really funny because there are certain characters in this which we know speak English. But that's fine.
They're set in it's LA.
Yeah, because it's set in LA. I don't think everyone in LA speaks Japanese. Maybe LA's changed things up a bit.
I mean, it's a post-nuclear apocalypse, so maybe it's like the Uno reverse card. You know what I mean? Like, now it's gone the other way. Japan colonizes LA. To let us
That's what happened in the not Metal Gear universe. That's what happened in the Blade Runner universe. I wanted to just briefly touch on one aspect of this show that I thought was delving into some interesting areas, and it didn't quite land. It's on its feet. I was really fascinated by the relationship between Joseph and Elle.
Yeah, it was romantic, but it wasn't romantic in the traditional sense.
Yeah, like there was very clearly like, and this is something I want people to be really fucking clear on. This is stuff I really like in romance, where you don't need confessions or like needless like moments of like dramatized kisses or hand holding or any of this stuff, or dates and shit, right? Like where Joseph and Elle's relationship is between these two broken people who, like, one is running from his memories while one is like desperately trying to reclaim her memories. And, you know, the dynamic between them, you know, Joseph is an alcoholic who is lying to her for a large part of the show. You know, in the end, he literally sacrifices his life for her. He does all of these things to her. And he's a really fascinating, multifaceted character. And Elle is kind of just Elle. Like, she doesn't
change. She just sort of...
She doesn't change much. Like, she develops, like... She resolves plot lines, but it doesn't lead to a whole lot of her character changing. Although, when there's some moments with Joseph where she, like, opens up, and I'm like, damn, man, like, that's really, like, cute. And I'm like, damn, if only you'd, established this a bit more. Like,
yeah,
made this a bit of a consistent thing, showing that this is her character development kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And, like, that's the thing. We were looking at it, and when I was watching it, again, as I've said 3 times now, it's like, this feels, like, the more I think about it, this feels kind of like a Hideo Kojima game or a Resident Evil game in terms of plot, right? Like, there is some serious effort going in, but it's also a Hideo Kojima plot, so it's, like, scattered all over the fucking place. It doesn't know where it wants to be. And because it's working inside an established franchise, there's certain things it just can't do. And yeah, the soundtrack ballin', the aesthetics ballin', the animation in the fights ballin'. Like, all the ingredients and the budget are there. It's just when you put them all together, you know what it is? It's like, it looks like Blade Runner. It feels like Blade Runner on occasion. It sounds like Blade Runner on occasion. But is it Blade Runner? Nah. I'm watching the quirky Japanese video game spin-off based in the Blade Runner universe. I'm not watching Blade Runner. Right? And I think that's the biggest problem this show has overall. It's trying to be its own thing while in an established franchise, and that works when you nail it. It's just, I don't think they did. But that being said, as you would have heard our review of Angels of Death last couple of episodes ago, it wasn't as bad as that. So
it wasn't.
It was more entertaining than that. So we're at that point where the reviews
will we rate
are
it
wrong.
here, or are we going to review it at the end? Like, give our final scores when we give Millionaire.
Nah, let's rate it here. Let's rate it here and just get it out the way.
We'll recap at the end then.
We'll recap at the end, but like, honestly, when I consider everything that made up the show, it's gotta be like a 6.5 to me. Like, because it's not bad. Like, there are some genuine moments. Like, it really started picking up in the middle, right? Like, that's the thing.
That was a bit when she started going on her killdozer rampage.
Yeah, from about episode 5 to episode 10, like those 5 episodes, the show suddenly becomes fun to watch.
It's very fast and it's very enjoyable when that's happening. Even if, like, a lot of the stuff doesn't have, like, it doesn't feel very, like, impactful, I guess.
Yeah, so
because, like, the villains are just bad. Like, they're just bad guys.
They're just bad guys. Like, this is, but yeah, it's sort of like, as I said, it's a 6.5. It's a 6 on my official ranking because of Mal. I'm using Mal side of things, but it's a 6. Like, it's if you want to, you can, and some people will really dig it. Would I go out of my way? As I say, whenever I like to do this, I do the glass reflection arcada thing. Like, yeah, you could watch this, and it's okay, it's fun. But if you haven't already, go watch Psycho Pass instead. You'll love yourself for it. Anyway, Ivi, over to you.
So I'm giving the story a 55, the characters a 60. I'm giving the visuals a 70. Mainly for the background shots in the world, because I thought it was really cool. I think that really held up the show. And my enjoyment is a 58, which brings my average to 60. That was a lot to say. My average is a 60 out of 100, which is a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
60%, whatever you want to call it. It's a 60 out of 100. That is
look
my
at that.
rating.
A precise agreement between the two of us. Holy shit.
Yep.
Look at that.
This is a 6 out of 10. This is not average. It's definitely better than average, but it's also not very much.
Yeah, it's better than average because of the resources it has behind it, not out of any.
Yeah. Like, it's not the story or the characters. It's the fact that this has like a really good production squad.
It is an average to even below average story executed exceptionally well for the technology they have. So like it's perfectly serviceable, but go watch Psycho Pass, which is like a 9 out of 10 instead. Just go watch that. Go
write me some neo-noir fiction to read, please.
Please do, because like all I'm saying is like the guys who run Psycho Pass and Production IG explicitly state that their biggest influence was Blade Runner. So, go watch
the better Blade Runner.
Go watch the better Blade Runner anime. Go watch.
Oh no, we shouldn't say. We should. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the clarification that the better anime, because me saying the better Blade Runner sounds like I'm shitting on the entire Blade Runner.
No. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like Psycho Pass, as much as I adore it, when you compare it to the absolute cult classic that is Blade Runner, if you haven't seen Blade Runner, A, why the fuck are you watching this show? And B, go watch Blade Runner. What are you doing? Stop this podcast. Go fuck off. Go watch Blade Runner.
I'm the guy who's watching Blade Runner, Black Lotus, and is like, what the fuck is a Blade Runner? What the fuck is a replicant? Who the fuck are these people? Why does all this technology look so old?
Like, honestly, if you haven't seen Blade Runner, where are you at, my guy? You need to check your priorities. Fuck us off, leave this podcast, and go watch Blade Runner right now.
Yeah, go have some fun.
Go have some fun. Don't listen to us. Go watch Blade Runner. It's amazing. Harrison Ford, awesome. Anyway, that's Blade Runner.
Anyway.
On to the good show. Best show.
All right.
One of the best we've had. Honestly, I'm going to...
Jewel. Wait, that's not the right
I'm going to call it. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it loud and proud on this podcast. With the exception of Gate, because that was viewer's choice and, like, we picked it for the reasons. Of all the shows we've rolled so far, this is the second one which I can truly say matches to the hype we felt after another. Like, Samurai Champloo was great, but it's a classic that we'd seen before and we knew we were getting a good one. This was a new show to both me and Ivi here. We were completely blind going in, and like with Another, for the first time since our very first episode, we smashed it out of the park with an absolute gold show. This was fantastic.
This was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun. I think that, like, I'm not even quite... It processed how much fun I had watching it. It was incredible. Like, we even had our friend Andy, from our Discord, from our private Discord, who's a mate of mine. I've known him since high school. He jumped in and he was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? We're watching an anime. We're on episode 1. You want to join?" I was like, "Hell yeah!" And so he joined us for the whole ride, and he loved it too. This show. Can we get it out of the way? Millionaire Detective, Balance Unlimited. It is exactly what it says on the tin. There is a millionaire who decides to become a detective. There's a millionaire, and he is also a detective. All right, guys, nice, excellent review. Let's get on the beers. Let's get on the beers. We're off. Yeah, there's a millionaire who is a detective, and he has a balance that is unlimited. Shock, horror. Long story short, plot, detective, down on his luck. Haro Sato, right? Just your average dude. He's your average detective. Got demoted from the fucking senior SWAT team of detectives because he couldn't shoot a gun anymore because he had an accident where he shot someone who was using a toy gun because they pointed it at him. But look, not wanting to make any defenses for the old 5-0 here, but if someone points a loaded weapon at you and you have a weapon in your hand, I'm shooting first. And he felt really guilty and couldn't pick up a weapon again, so he joins the community service squad, right? He joins the detectives who investigate local crimes and do crime prevention, right? And joining this squad is Daisuke Kambe. Daisuke Kambe. The millionaire of the Kambe Corporation, who owns a patent, spoilers, who owns a patent to this unknown source of energy that hasn't been made public, right? And they've been secretly selling it
to governments and powers behind the scenes, which means they also own the patents to all of the technology that was developed around using this thing and all of that. So basically, like, their balance is unlimited. They are like the richest corporation in the world. And so
Yep.
to uncover the murder of his mother and like his deep family conspiracies and everything going on, Daisuke Kambe joins the local 50
to inform them about the reptilian conspiracy. Wait, hold on.
That's the right show.
Sorry.
No, excuse me. No. But like, no. But he joins the local 50 to help investigate the murder of his mother and the conspiracy of his family and what it's involved in, because one of their detectives was on that cold case for his entire life, and was investigating, and he's the curmudgeon-y old dude in the team. And they, over the course of the series, they team up and unravel this web of mystery and who the murderers are and what's going on. And along the way, they do a lot of episodic crimes, like stopping an assassination of a diplomatic official from a South American country. I still think they should have gotten away with it, because that guy was destroying indigenous land with a pipeline and a dam. So, like, you know, based indigenous terrorists.
I think they should have done more.
They didn't
go far enough.
They didn't go far enough. Go further. But hey,
just for fun. Just
hi AGO, hi YouTube. How you going?
Just fuck around. Just see what happens. Let's just have some fun with it, man.
Have some fun with it, man. Like, have some fun. Base terrorists. No, in all seriousness, the whole series is hysterically funny, because it's just a situation where they have to catch the bad guys, and because their detective has an AI system in his sunglasses, no, we're not kidding, literally an AI system in his ears and his sunglasses, right, that can access an unlimited bank account and like access all the information in the world everywhere by hacking into everything. He can literally prosecute criminals and crimes and solve mysteries and do all of that shit by just wielding the power of money.
This man is like, I think I commented on this when we were watching, and I was like, this is Bruce Wayne if he was even richer. Like,
yeah, like,
fuck that, like, donning a suit at night. This man has a suit that just appears over his body at times. Like,
he has nano machines that can build his suit for him, right?
And like, this show, I feel okay. So I'm probably okay. This is hard. Okay, so I think the comedy of the show and the comedy and the fast-paced humor works so well.
Yes,
and it contrasting with the sort of aggressive sort of action sequences of it, you know, are all very fun, and it keeps it sort of fresh. I feel like when the show gets into the conspiracy arc in proper, it sort of loses that a little.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine. Like, you do need some more meat on the bone. I get it, but I admit that, like, I did drop off a bit with like those later episodes. But man, the ending to the show made it all worth it. Just to that final scene in the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
We sat there, all three of us, just sat there fucking laughing so goddamn fucking hard in the aftermath of that fucking scene.
Yeah, and it makes me want, deep down, it makes me want like a season 2 with a new enemy and a new arc and something like, kind of like Sherlock Holmes stories in a way, which is obviously what they're ripping off and parodying. It's like, what
also, by the way, this is gonna, like, everyone's gonna completely think, like, everyone loves to talk, because, like, everyone who watched this show is like, oh my god, Daisuke Kanbe, Daddy. I mean, there's even AMVs which are set to songs called Daddy to this. Like, this is like how aggressively, like, sexualized Kanbe is as a character. But, like, I can't wait for the better version of this show to come out next month. Oh my god, that's so close. Because I commented on this as someone who has, you know, been reading manga for quite some time. Spy X Family has obviously been on my radar for quite some time. The parallel between the opening sequence with Daisuke and the covers of Spy X Family, I was like, can they do that? Can they just rip each other off like this? Apparently so.
Yeah, because like, the thing is, I remember seeing it, right, when Kambe comes on screen, right? When in his opening introduction as a character, like,
which is hilarious. Oh my fucking god!
Like when
The way I fucking laughed. Oh shit!
Like the way he rolls up, like through that classic car rally, just bumping them all out of the way with his freaking Rolls Royce or his Bentley, just knocking them out the way. I think he drives a Bentley Continental actually, and he's just bashing them out the way and pulls up and he's like blows cigar smoke in homie's face and he's like, "I'm your new detective. This guy." Daisuke Kambe, Metropolitan Police Department of Tokyo. I'm like, oh. He's like, what the fuck? Like, Haru's like, what the fuck? Because he's like an honest cop who's all about serving justice and watched cop movies like Bad Boys and all that growing up. And he's like, yeah, I want to be a good cop who goes and gets bad guys.
That was one of my favorite bits in the show was when they watched the cop show.
Yeah.
The cop movie. Oh, fuck. I was losing my shit.
Yeah, but what I love
about because I think because it captured the fact, like, a bit of a difference between, like, Japanese police media and, like, the difference in roles. like...
I find
I thought was interesting.
I find that Japanese cop shows tend to be like a lot more like. I think the thing with Japanese cop shows, and it's actually a sin for one of those anarchies to say, because I guess I kind of am one now by proxy. But anyway, for us filthy socialists to say, I like Japanese cop shows to an extent because they're not so much like when, let's be honest here, Western cop shows have a nickname in our circles, which is copaganda.
Copaganda.
Right? Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine is copaganda. Like
it portrays this idealized world where cops are all good guys and stuff. And this does too. Keep in mind, this does it too. Like the idea that cops are still working behind the things. The funniest part of this being that like it shows how like there is one funny part to this, but it's like, look at how ineffective they are.
Yeah,
like it's just like a lot of the time they're just wasting time.
But one thing I've noticed about all media, almost every single anime I have watched regarding the police, and maybe this is just because it's anime and it's coming from the art and public and popular media sector, and even in general Japanese discussion I've seen on boards and stuff translated into English, the Japanese are almost always, every single piece of media regarding the police shows them as horrifically corrupt. Every single one. Every single, like, psychopaths, freaking copcraft, like, every single piece of Japanese media dealing with the police, the senior police officials are either cave into political pressure from the government or are flat out corrupt. In every single one.
I think it's a bit like the fact that, like, okay, so, like, if any of you have watched any anime where there's, like, references to the government, you'll tend to find that they're either mildly critical or, like, outright critical, like describing the government as, like, completely useless or at the very least, you know, ineffective. And this is because of, like, obviously the well-documented case that Japan's political system is a fucking nightmare. And obviously it should be highlighted here, and this isn't something that really comes up a lot in this show because of what they're doing most of the time, but Japan doesn't have the concept of innocent until proven guilty, and I always have to say that. Japan doesn't have the concept of innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent.
Yes, the Japanese court system and political system and law enforcement is fucked. And that's what's the difference between Western depictions of police and Japanese depictions of police, and probably why I like Japanese depictions a lot more, which is that in American and Western cop shows, the institution of the police and the state is never in question. They're the good guys, right? What happens is you get one bad egg who ruins it and runs a corrupt scheme, and then the noble, heroic police officers take them down, right? And then return their institution back to its glory days, right? In In Japanese media, it's the other way around. It's the institution itself and the people at its highest levels are corrupt. And the lower echelon guys, like the middle management types and the older guys, are like, just live with it, just live with it, just live with it. Whereas the guys on the front line, including Daisuke Kambe, even though he's like basically bought his way in, like even them, like in Japanese police media, it's the other way around. The young police officers are out to destroy the institution and restore it to what it should be. And that's a big thing.
Revolution, baby.
Yeah, and that's the big difference between the sort of cop shows in Japan and cop shows in the West. And I find it very interesting because the guys who get in trouble, like the senior echelons, are always portrayed as evil bastards. And in this show, it's no different. In fact, it's exceptionally
Actually,
explicit.
it's kind of funny because we have technically just watched 2 Japanese influenced cop shows in a row. You know, like a large part of Black Lotus was cop show.
Yeah,
right?
It was cop show. Yeah, we watched 2 cop shows, which are actually, now that you mention it, you're right. We watched 2 cop shows, and it's very stark. It's very stark. It's a very stark difference, right?
All the cops in Black Lotus are just like doing their job, right?
Yeah, and the big guy at the top is the bad man.
It's the big one at the top who's the bad guy. Everyone else is, you know, just doing their thing.
A hardworking, good, honest police officer, right?
Yeah, although ineffective.
And in Blade and the Blade Runners are of course Blade Runners. So
Blade Runners get a weird pass, but they're also, I think, to be fair, as far as that franchise goes, I think it's probably the more critical of the Blade Runners role.
Yeah, but that's beside the point. Like in like Millionaire Detective, the entire institution of the police is put on blast. Basically, they blast the police in that show.
Yep.
The lower the senior criminal division who hunt down the big bad guys are all, oh, excuse me, I can't say that. Pricks. I'll have to bleep myself. But you heard what I said. I meant it.
It's okay. It's okay. The Spotify version gets to hear that word.
Yep. Like that's it. Like they are. Whereas the lower division, the crime prevention division, are more effective because they're out on the street talking to the locals, and they're bending the rules a bit to get it done. But at the same time, they're always doing it for the right reasons, and they're taking it to a corrupt institution, right? They've achieved, and you saw it in Blade Runner with Davis as well, and you see it in other good cop shows that you see, like in Psychopaths with Akane Tsunemori. The cop work is done by getting your nose in the street, by talking to the locals, by getting to know people, by helping the community, and actually doing what you're supposed to, which is protecting and serving, and then you take it to wherever you can, the corrupt establishment, which of course results in the crescendo of the show, which is overcoming police corruption and government pressure in order to achieve justice, which is what really at its core the show's about. But the humor of the show, like the fact that they can just like, honestly, the humor is what makes this show worth watching. Like, forget all of our talk about political undertones and critiques of Japanese justice. In essence, what makes this show worth watching is just the insanity of it. Like, just they get themselves into impossible positions, but because you have Daisuke Kambe, Japanese Bruce Wayne, you can just get out of it, right? You can just do whatever you need to do. Like, oh, we can't get in because of security cameras. Ah, yes, but here I have my backpack with electromagnetic pulse missiles that I prepared earlier, right? You know, I need to get up to that elevated ledge. Well, here's my grappling hook with parachute assist. Use that. Oh, I've got my nano suit, which I could use to, like, hand-to-hand fight a guy who's 15 times the size of me. Oh, excellent. Like, and the best part about it, there's tons of damage. Like, there's so much collateral damage. There's one episode where to do a drug bust, they use an attack helicopter. And to prevent collateral damage from getting too bad, they buy the building that the drug bust is taking place in. And then blow it up with an attack helicopter, right? And then at the end of every episode, there is a bill to see how much money they spent throughout the whole episode.
That is one of the funniest running gags I have seen in a show in quite some time. Like,
Yeah.
just like slamming down, and some of the numbers made me fucking howl. So, episode 1, 1,369,800,000 yen, or equivalent to US dollars, $12,822,081.39. Oh, the greatest episode, episode 4, where Daisuke stays at Kato's house.
That is the best episode of this whole show.
Cost incurred in this episode, US yen 55,616, US $523.
Yeah, that's the whole show. The whole fucking, of all the episodes in this show, that slice of life episode where he forgets his like Husk system and just bunks with his partner. And then they only spend like $500, and 2/3 of that was to buy a replacement dog for a kid whose pet dog got hit by a car.
And my favorite two my favorite two were definitely the last ones, apart from the 55,000 yen episode, was episode 10, 40 billion yen.
Nah, still
40 billion yen, $382,537,200. Or finally, episode 11, costs incurred in this episode, unlimited.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, right? Like this whole fucking show is just comedy genius. The gags always, like, I don't think there was a gag that didn't land in this whole show.
There were most of the gags were very fucking funny. Can we just talk about the funniest brick joke I've seen in a show in quite some time? So, first episode, you go through all of the crazy chase scene with Daisuke, like, fucking around in his Bentley, and Kato falls over the edge of the bridge, only to barely hold on by his hand, and looks up at Kambe, who looks at him derisively before walking away and letting Kato fall into the river, while Kato yells in frustration. The final episode has the two working together as like a badass team, now finally like in sync in New York for some reason.
Yeah.
In Brooklyn specifically. And they're doing the thing, and they come to the bridge, and Kato falls over the edge of the bridge and catches on with one hand. And Daisuke leans down and reaches out a hand, and you can see like Kato's face warm just a little before Daisuke stands back up and laughs, and then fucking Kato falls into the river.
They set it up for the entire show, and it lands so hard.
Oh, just my fucking sides, just beautiful.
This whole show is like the gags don't miss, the jokes don't miss throughout this whole show. Like robbing,
like it does occasionally get a little old with some of the like financial jokes. Get a little bit like, yeah, okay, I've heard it now a couple of times. You know, it's the classic, you know, Japanese sort of writing the joke to death thing. But fucking hell, I don't care. I don't care. It was really fucking funny.
Also, like as I said. Say it with me, everybody. Daddy, Daisuke, excuse me, Daddy, Daisuke, sorry, Daddy, oh, like,
Daddy, Daddy, I'm sorry.
His intro, though, like, rocks up in his own private Airbus A320 with his family logo on it, clipping a cigar.
The fact that he apparently has an attack helicopter.
Yeah, he bought the attack helicopter from the JSDF, then buys the building, and then blows up the roof.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, like, I just... after all this effort to go on like the
it's like, okay, so like modern superhero films love to do the thing where they're like, what about the financial costs incurred by a superhero? This show does the exact opposite, where it's like, no, he has the money to pay for it, so why shouldn't he blow up?
Yeah, that's the thing. He gives a standing order every time he's about to do something fucking stupid. He sets up a standing order with his AI to like, all right, track everything that happens and double the money of everyone who impacted.
Yeah,
right.
Pay double the costs incurred.
Right.
So like, if he smashes a building, pay twice as much.
Yeah. So if he breaks, like, if he smashes someone's car, right, and
pay
it's like
twice it back. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you break a Toyota Camry, you can go get a fucking BMW. Like, the fuck? I'm like, man, this guy, and like the cool, like, yeah, he is the man. Like, we're all about murder and the bourgeoisie on this podcast, but like, secretly,
I would be the Tony Hawk meme if I had to kill Daisuke in the revolution. I would be crying and crying. I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. This is how it had to go down.
And I think again, this is literally, it's not some poser like old mate Elon. It's literally, this man is using his wealth to help the public good. And ultimately, he sort of gives up his exclusivity to that wealth, even though he's still rich as shit. He gives up his exclusivity to that wealth, again, for the public good. And so, Kambe, everything he does for the public good at his core. And that's what I think makes him a redeemable character. And he always does the right thing when push comes to shove. Also, his cousin/sister is awesome. She's fantastic.
Also, weird relationship dynamic.
Yeah.
With them. Very weird relationship dynamic with them.
It is heavily
uncomfortable.
Like, it is
It's
heavily
uncomfortable.
alluded that she wants
incestual. It's incest. There's some incest subtext there, and it's not very nice. But you know, this is Japan.
Their butler is also a badass and also the villain, which is cool.
Yeah, it was cool to have the butler. The butler did it. Oh my god!
The butler did it. Right. Okay. Changes the dynamic of the show entirely, and then his grandma was also the villain who organized the whole thing. Like it's a crazy show. It's a mystery show. It goes topsy turvy. If you're watching this podcast, I'm assuming you've already seen it or weren't planning on seeing it, and we've just ruined all the twists for you. But you're not here for the twists. What you're here for is awesome action sequences and the animation and choreography for the action sequences, especially the fight. The fight between Kambe and the big bad at the end.
That was awesome. So was the fight on the ship was pretty cool as well.
The show's fight scenes, like the animation is money. Even the CG. You can tell it's CG. It looks out of place occasionally, but when it's used right, it's done well. But
the most noticeable funny CG, because I will always take a moment to sort of make fun of CG. The funniest CG moment is absolutely when Daisuke is rear-ending cars.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just like flying,
because it looks so funny. Because it's like that's not how cars move when they get rear-ended.
Also, why is his bumper still perfectly fine? No, that thing's shot. Also,
that thing's made out of fucking unobtainium. That's why.
No, look. We're coming up on 1 hour and 2 minutes, so let's get round to talking about the best part of
the best parts.
The fucking soundtrack again.
Oh my god! Holy shit! So fucking good.
This show's so fun. Like, again, more noir, please. More jazz, please.
Mm-hmm.
Like Princess Principal with Yuki Kajiro doing jazz. Like, mwah, just more jazz.
Let's get that. Spy X Family can't get here quick enough, is what we're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
We're saying,
bring the
Spy
show.
X Family, hurry up.
Actually,
like, I need that soundtrack. I need that fucking animation.
We really should do what our comrades over on Weeb Revolution do, which is like we should do a seasonal podcast episode, like a seasonal special where we talk about the upcoming season. Because let's talk about it. Attack on Titan, which is airing right now, finishing up. Money. Dress Up Darling. Haven't watched it yet. Money. Like,
I like that you haven't learnt anything from this podcast and you're declaring something you haven't watched. Cash Money.
Yeah, but I have seen all I need to see because I'm going to watch it for the same reason you watch DxD, my guy. Let's be honest about it.
I haven't watched DxD.
You're not a man of culture. I haven't watched much of DxT either. I've only watched like the first couple episodes. But the fact of the matter is,
admittedly, the problem is that we have a friend who is a DxT shill.
yeah, we have multiple DxT shills in our friend circle, and it's
that's unfortunate.
Well, let's count them off. Let's count like Scotty, Andy,
1, 2, 3.
Scotty, Andy,
Crypto?
and Crypto.
And occasionally Mbug. So yeah, 4.
4. So 4 DxT shills. Yeah, so look, and we watch it for the same reason. We're watching it for the plot, okay? And Dress Up Darling, I'm reliably informed, is actually pretty good. But plot.
It's so funny how I went from being the world's biggest like Sonobisque shill. Like, legitimately, if you talked to me between, like, 2020 and 2018, there was a high chance that I was going to recommend that you read Sonobisque. However, now, my shilling for the series has dropped significantly because the manga's place is making glaciers look like Usain Bolt, and that is not a fun
that's
time.
not a fun thing. And look, let's be honest here.
But that's not going to get adapted in this season, so that's not a problem.
So look, the real show that needs finishing, as you so rightly point out, is an excellent one that got the first season adapted but didn't get any continuation, is Smile Down the Runway. That.
Speaking of, final volume's out. It fucking made me cry. Oh, it's so...
That is the show that needs, like, forget Dress Up Darling, that is the show that needs the full adapt. That is the dressmaking cosplay thingy that needs the full adaptation, because Smile Down the Runway is fantastic. Watch Smile Down the Runway. But anyway, like all of our conversations, it's what you tune into this podcast for. It's just anime splat.
Anime goonery.
But, like, honestly, yes. In my opinion, the standout in both of the shows this week, the standout for both of these shows was the aesthetic, and that was the combination between the animation and art style. Because Millionaire Detective has this really colorful, goofy art style, and I love it. Matched with incredible animation, something it doesn't share with Bladerunner. And the soundtrack is an absolute banger. Like, Millionaire Detective soundtrack was...
There's only so much you can say about the soundtrack, but the combination, like the neo sounds, like the noir sort of, like, sounds with lots of brass instruments, you know, it's the brass instruments here that really worked into it. You know, it's the reason why my favorite song from My Hero Academia is Obstacle Course.
Yeah.
Because, no, Obstacle Course? Yeah, the song that they invoke every time Mei Hatsume is on screen.
Yeah.
Hatsume. How did they get away with that? Anyway, not important. just thinking, that's a thought for another time. So ratings for the show. What are your ratings for Millionaire Detective?
All right. When I look at it, you know me, I'm an emotive rater.
Yes, I rate entirely on knee-jerk reactions.
No, that's not true. I do try to keep it professional on occasion, but
however, today is not that.
no, like, this is the thing, right? I mean, I've got my mail up right here to update it as we do this, as I always do. Like, the thing is, I don't just hand out anything to everything, but I do take enjoyment as a big factor. Enjoyment is like 1 point from your rating system. Enjoyment is like 2 or 3 from mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will give a show that's like, for example,
I mean, enjoyment's 25% of my rating, so
yeah, like, I would say it's 40% of mine, probably, because it's like, I have Overlord, right? Overlord's animation, jank. It's CG, awful. Its soundtrack, but it's an 8
good.
on my mail.
The openings and endings are pretty good.
Myth and Royd are excellent, because they always are, but, like, the rest of the show is just, like, the production overall of Overlord is but the voice acting and the story and how much I enjoy watching it, like, solid 10s, right? So it's like, Overlord gets an 8 on my list because, you know, it's just great. Does it deserve it? Probably not. Do I care? Also, another one that's more evident of this is a historical anime, which I really want to cover on my channel, Joker Game, about an intelligence service founded in Japan during World War II. show's not very highly rated. It's a bit of a misnomer. It's a bit under the radar. Yet I gave it an 8 again for the same reason. So with that in mind, the reason I've been using 8 as a score as an example is because 8 is my score for Millionaire Detective. It is an 8 out of 10. It is just, would I watch it again? Absolutely. I'd watch it again. And we don't want to...
I'm watching it right now.
the one thing we haven't talked about, and we've mentioned but we haven't talked about because we don't want to spoil the punchline, the ending scene of that anime makes it so worth it.
Didn't we just talk about the ending scene?
Yeah, but we didn't go into detail about what happens in it. Like
true. We talked about the joke. Yeah, the
setup for that gag though. Bro, look. Honestly, 8 out of 10. So for me, it's Bladerunner was a 6, Millionaire Detective was an 8. And quite honestly, Millionaire Detective was so much more enjoyable to do. We did it in like 2 days. It took us like a week to do Bladerunner. The Millionaire Detective took us 2 days.
If not more.
Yeah, we put it on.
We had one night where we literally got on to watch for the explicit purposes of watching Blade Runner, and I just instead watched a slice of life Korean anime.
Because we just yeah. How about you for Millionaire Detective? Where are you at?
For Millionaire Detective. Okay, so I'm giving the story a 70. The story was fresh, but it had its weak spots. I felt it got a bit all over the place, especially with that later half of the season. The boat arc, while it had a lot of cool animation going on, it felt really like it dragged its feet. But I'm giving that a 70 out of 100. I'm giving the a 74. I liked the characters, even if some of them were a little bit one beat, like, typical one joke characters. She eats, that dude does this, that kind of shit. Visuals, I'm giving it an 83. Really good visuals, really clean. The 3D animation was a bit of a letdown. And finally, my enjoyment was an 88. I really enjoyed watching the show. I'm not gonna downplay it. I had a fucking blast. I'm giving this a 78 out of 100 overall.
So that's an 8 out of 10 from both of us. Holy shit! That's your
rounding up my scores.
That's the highest. No, but that's what it is. That's what it is. You can't you can't get out of it. That's exactly what it is. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the highest rating. Ivy has given.
Is that higher? Yeah, is that the highest rating I've given?
It's your highest.
Damn. There you go.
It is your highest rated. So Millionaire Detective is Ivy's highest rated, and he's a stingy fuck when it comes to ratings. That's true. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Well, it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show, and my favorite part.
It's my turn to roll.
Yeah, it's where we get to see what happens when...
It's my fucking turn to roll. Okay, I've got everything set up in advance. Make sure that... Yep. Okay. I'm going to roll. Are we including this in... Yep.
Stream your screen. Yep. I don't show the image of you doing it, but because it's got my personal Discord in your browser and everything, so that's
Yeah.
We don't want to do that.
Okay.
But
we don't want everyone to see that. Wait, why do I have? Oh, right, this new chapter out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next anime we will be watching, we're only rolling one. We aren't going to be doing double headers every single time.
Yeah.
We're going to roll one, generate random anime, bang.
And we have to remember the rules. If we've watched it recently, we have to re-roll. I can't do it because I've watched it recently.
Okay, fuck. All right.
We have to re-roll, but for your information, we rolled Carol and Tuesday, and go watch Carol and Tuesday.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. You've seen it as well, haven't you?
Yeah, of course.
So we've both seen Carol and Tuesday, and it came out recently, so that's against the rules.
Okay, let me set it up again. Let's roll this thing for a second.
I'm bummed too. Because TLDR, rating for Carol and Tuesday, I can already give you a rating on Carol and Tuesday. 8 or 9 out of 10, and as it's a music anime, the OST, they released a companion album to that series. Fucking incredible. Soft voices, acoustic guitar, just and the animation is heart-achingly gorgeous. So,
all right, our next one after that is.
We're gonna get trash,
Please be good.
aren't we?
Please be good. Please be good. Fuck.
Fuck. That's better. That's
terrible.
better.
Sekai de Ichiban Tsuyoku Naritai. I want to be the strongest in the world. 5.4 average score, 12 episodes. Episodes are 23 minutes long, and it's rated MA, which means there's going to be a lot of fan service.
Oh, what? Let's have a look.
Let's have a look. Hagiwara Sakura and Miyazawa Elena are the leading members of a popular idol group, Sweet Diva. One day, Elena is injured by the attack of a female pro wrestler Kazuma Rio during the recording of a TV program. Sakura gets mad at Rio and gives her a drop kick to avenge Elena.
Oh my
Sakura
god!
ends the pro wrestling matches.
It's an idol wrestling. It's idol wrestling. Oh my god!
An idol ecchi anime.
Dude, idol wrestling is so much fun. Idol wrestling is great, and even like the male like idol wrestling, like Ladybeard, like yo, fucking amazing. And it's an ecchi show. Look at these outfits. Yes. Garbage.
No.
Trash. Yes. Carol and Tuesday was against the rules because we've seen it recently. I knew it. We rolled quality. So. Bang! We rolled trash. It's only 12 episodes though, so we got lucky. So there we go. Idol wrestling. I get to torture Ivi. Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. I'm gonna enjoy
it. This is gonna be fun.
Just in mind, like that old, like you remember, like Nice Peter and Kassem G, like way back in the day, like. That song Superman Socks. It's just gonna be on repeat in front of Ivi for the rest of the week. It's just gonna be bounce, bounce, jiggle, bounce, 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 jiggle, bounce, 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 jiggle, bounce. There's gonna be jiggle sound effects too. It's already that kind of show. Like I can feel the jiggle sound effects. Anyway,
I will be moving towards committing chess once again. Let's see. It's wrap up time, so. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on other apps, iHeartRadio. You can find us on your podcast search, hopefully. And if you can't hit us up, and we'll try to figure out how to get ourselves on a service that you can access. All you have to do is leave a message in the comment section, and we'll sort that out for you. Yeah. Except for Apple, because that's a lot of work, and I don't want to have to edit out the theme for every single episode.
Cannot be bothered, TBH.
If you've got some time to spare, this is going to be weird because it's going to come out in a couple of weeks from now, so this isn't going to really work. But if you ever get a chance, go have a look at page 16 and 17 of The Cuckoo's Fiancé of chapter 101 to see some work that I did this week that made me absolutely want to tear out my eyes. That's my only statement.
Because, yeah.
I did a lot of work on that pages, and I want at least somebody to pay attention to it.
Yeah. Oh, poor old Ivi. He is like he's having a rough time.
I've been having a few weeks.
He's been having a real one, man. He's been having a real one.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, we're signing off.
Yes, we are. But before we go, a song. Ooh. No, not really.
I was like, oh shit, you really gonna make me do a bit off the top of my head?
Hello, my honey. Hello, my baby. Hello, my... Yep, okay. Alright, there we go.
I come from a land down under.
Yeah, alright, look, I don't know, I hope, this will, I don't know if it'll age poorly or whatever, but I don't really care. Thank you for listening. I've been Pacman.
And I've been V, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And as I said, I hope this doesn't age poorly, but Slava Ukraine. See you guys.
money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting.